The adventuring company remained beneath Skyhorn Lighthouse, making final preparations to board the Defender for their long-awaited return to Altdorf. As the sailors readied the ship, a sudden shout echoed through the cavern, calling urgently for Dameron. Without explanation, he excused himself and went to investigate, leaving the company alone for a moment. In his absence, the group quietly discussed what came next. They agreed that Dameron Eldath was clearly a man of secrets, operating according to motives not yet fully revealed. Still, they recognized that remaining close to him represented Lady Naja's best and perhaps only path toward reclaiming her birthright. Whatever Dameron truly was, their fates were now entangled. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted when Rankin suddenly bolted toward the far door. A sailor hurried to open it as the Mastiff barked excitedly, and the company followed close behind. Rankin led them straight to his former master, the swashbuckler, who was in the midst of a tense conversation with Dameron Eldath. Upon seeing the party, the swashbuckler immediately shouted at them, accusing them of abandoning him to fight the water elemental alone and stealing his dog in the process. The company offered half-hearted apologies, countering that he could have escaped to the island alongside them. Dameron cut sharply into the argument, questioning why the swashbuckler had been stowed away aboard the Defender if his story was true. Cornered, the swashbuckler sheepishly admitted that he had believed he would never survive the fight. He had dove overboard, hidden among the wreckage, and eventually returned to his ship, only to find it too damaged to sail. With no better option, he had planned to take the Defender instead. Dameron accepted the explanation without further comment. The swashbuckler, visibly relieved, thanked the party for saving his Mastiff, whom he affectionately called Bilko, while Rankin wagged his tail, seemingly pleased with both names. With that matter settled, Dameron gave the order to set sail. Slowly and carefully, the sailors maneuvered the Defender out of the submerged caverns using oars, ropes, and patience. When they finally emerged into open water, the party looked back, only to find no visible entrance behind them. Jethro remarked on the power of magic required to conceal such a passage, and none disagreed. As they neared the harbor of Altdorf, Jethro climbed into the crow's nest. From his vantage point, he immediately noticed an unusually heavy military presence lining the docks. He hurried back down to warn the others. Solution Skyhorn merely nodded, explaining that such a response was unsurprising given the long-simmering political tension between King Edric IV and Lucian's father, the Baron of House Skyhorn. During the approach, Dameron quietly slipped away to the captain's quarters with Lady Naja. The rest of the company noticed quickly and, concerned for her safety, sent Ravenna to investigate. From outside the closed door, Ravenna overheard fragments of their conversation, enough to piece together a plan. To protect Naja from scrutiny, they would adopt a false identity. Lady Naja would henceforth be known as Callista Stormcaller, an outcast of the Church of Illuminants seeking spiritual refuge among the Sisters of the Harvest, a female-only cenobium affiliated with the Church of Shontea. Her point of contact would be Sister Femdra, a woman whose own past conveniently mirrored Callista's fabricated story. When Ravenna rejoined the group, Naja instructed everyone to refer to her only by her new name. Together, the company refined the details of their shared cover story. Guthrie and Callista would be fellow questioners of Illuminance doctrine, an explanation that, in Guthrie's case, was entirely genuine. Their philosophical doubts had drawn them together and led them to Altdorf in search of purpose and guidance. As the mooring line tightened and the Defender slid into its berth, the city guard stood fully assembled along the docks. At their center stood a tall man clad in bronze plate trimmed with crimson enamel. His horse-haired helm rested beneath one arm, revealing iron-gray hair and a scar that twisted one side of his mouth into a permanent scowl. This was Lord Marshal Harrick Vaughan, commander of the City Guard. He waited until the gangplank was fully lowered before speaking.
Sir Lucian Skyhorn, Knight of House Skyhorn and Keeper of the Lamp. You are not under arrest, but by order of the Crown, you will accompany me to the palace immediately for questioning.
His gaze swept across the rest of the ship's occupants as he continued.
Everyone who set foot on Skyhorn Island is now a person of interest in an active Crown investigation. You will be identified, and your movements within Altdorf will be monitored and possibly restricted until this matter is resolved. Those who cooperate will be comfortable. Those who do not will be uncomfortable.
Lucien lifted his head calmly.
I will answer any lawful question put to me, Lord Marshal.
Harrick responded with faint condescension.
I'm certain you will. Your father, on the other hand, has been far less accommodating.
Both Guthrie and Callista noticed Lucian's jaw tighten at the remark. Harrick continued.
As for House Skyhorn, the Crown is well aware of certain sentiments fermenting in your lands. Resentment is understandable. Resistance is not. The king has grown tired of rumours. He intends to hear the truth from every mouth involved before Altdorf bleeds for it. Take him.
Lucien was escorted toward a waiting carriage bearing the royal sigil. Harrick lingered a moment longer, his attention settling on the company.
You fought something at that lighthouse, something that frightened seasoned sailors and emptied a harbour. If you are heroes, you will be remembered as such. If you are conspirators,
his voice hardened,
the Crown will make an example of you. Don't leave town.
With that, he turned and followed the escort, leaving the company standing on the docks, free in body, but firmly under the watchful eye of Altdorf. As the tension faded, the company noticed a banner snapping in the wind, the sigil of House Skyhorn. They approached the man holding it, and learned he was a servant of Lady Cleora, wife of Lucian Skyhorn. He asked if they would recount their story to his dame. They agreed, and he escorted them to a guest suite within the palace itself. They were treated to a modest feast in a lavishly appointed chamber. When Lady Cleora arrived, formal introductions were made, and the company produced the mariners' coins given to them by Lucien. Seeing the tokens, Lady Cleora's trust was secured. She questioned them at length about the events on Skyhorn Island and asked anxiously about her son, Eric, questions for which they had no satisfying answers. In the end, she asked for their help. Something was wrong within the king's court, she believed, and the company agreed that unseen hands were guiding the king toward disastrous decisions. Lady Cleora offered them lodging in her guest suite while they recovered, under the watchful presence of the city guard. Over the next 3 days, the company healed and regrouped. Guthrie purchased a new quarterstaff and trained relentlessly. Callista, with Guthrie's aid, purified the weapons recovered from the sea hag and the scion of the deep. Jethro and Ravenna spent long hours in meditation, counsel, and music-filled taverns, slowly loosening the shadow's grip upon them. Together, they also frequented the docks and the seedier quarters of the city, gathering rumours. They learned that Lady Cecily Moore, the wisdom of Altdorf, and High Marshal Harrick Vaughan had engaged in secret dealings with criminal elements, and that both wielded far more influence than their titles suggested. Meanwhile, Guthrie and Callista met their new religious sponsor, Sister Femdra. The woman seemed perpetually distracted, far more attentive to her ledgers and scrolls than the people around her. Dameron introduced them, assuring Callista that Sister Femdra could be trusted before departing to attend to fold business elsewhere in Peloria. Guthrie was invited to volunteer at the Church of Chanterre, while Callista was formally consecrated, on paper, as an honorary member of the Sisters of the Harvest. Sister Femdra then requested a meeting with the entire company. The party regrouped and returned to Lady Cleora to determine which advisor they should attempt to approach first. Given Sister Femdra's request and Lady Cleora's connection to Sister Seraphine, they agreed she was the most reasonable place to begin. But when they returned to Lady Cleora's suite, they found High Marshal Harrick Voln already seated at the lunch table with her. What does the adventuring company decide to do now?